Achieve success with Global.Media.com. Every step forward is a new beat to your drum. Achieve success with Global.Media.com. Let's celebrate it with or without champagne or rum.
Yay, we're here. It's a Tuesday. We're actually live. So I need to go back. I need to go and get my LinkedIn streaming. So hopefully it will connect with our StreamYard today. It may well do. It may not do. Yeah, that's live, right? That's live. But I need to get that tells you we're live on LinkedIn as well now. Superb. Yeah, welcome, my friends. Welcome, my friends in the studio. Especially, I appreciate you more than you realize. How you doing, Alvin? Especially, I like Cyrus, I like Michael, but Alvin, you're the special one. You're the one that warms my
Hello.
heart. You've been here. How are you?
I'm fine. I'm over the moon to be with you today. And thank you very much for inviting me. And I was listening. It was quite interesting what Mr. Korn was saying. So it
I
was
love,
for
I
that.
love, I laugh because this event, I think it brings out a part of humans that people didn't really know existed. I think we could do a whole show and just talk about nothing apart from whatever came to mind, right? And people
Yeah.
they fly in the wall, just listen to people's conversation, and people will sit there all day and just listen. I
Yeah.
remember I've been to many rooms where the host disappeared for some unknown reason, and some hosts leave, and then I had to shut the room down properly, and people would just sit there. Just sit
Yes,
there.
that's true. And I was thinking, oh, maybe, maybe I'm not at the right place because I didn't see you. And I said
Yeah,
maybe it is not the right room. And
yeah.
after that, I saw you, and it's
Uh,
great. I hope everyone is going well all around the world, if I can say, and here.
I hope so. Marlene, welcome. I see you. Marlene, we're meeting after this, right? No, we're half an hour after this, Marlene. So I'll try and finish on time today. So Marlene's working on her book now, her anthology. A good catch up will be good, right? Whoever's here, my friends, drop us a comment. Say hi. Say where you're joining us from. That way I can welcome you properly. I can see numbers, but I can't see people. That's the problem with this platform. But so we're here. We're here. Mr. Cyrus, Mr. Calm, how are you doing?
I'm doing peachy. I'm doing all right. I'm just wondering to myself, how is Marlene going to, be able to expect you to be on time when you're never on time? I was going to make a bet. Cyrus, if Annie is on time after this meeting, I will
Yeah.
send him a whole
No,
box
listen.
of cookies.
He will be late for his own funeral. I'm telling you.
That
You
is
know
so
what,
true,
Cyrus?
Cyrus.
I
That's
can't
so
beat that.
true.
That is definitely true.
Well, that's a good thing, right? That's a good thing. I want to be late for my funeral. That way, there's no funeral until I say so. I live in Cornwall as well. Now, so in Cornwall, we have this awful habit. When the Grim Reaper comes, we run the other way. When they say, "Annie, here's your coffin," I'm like, "No, I don't want it. Take it away." And in Cornwall, you can end up living to your 90, 100, and there's 3 generations of geriatrics. I'm like, why don't want one of you that should surely be gone by now? Like, now we don't want to die. We're fine. We live in paradise. Anyway, my timekeeping is, here's the weird thing, Michael. How dare you speak of me like that? That's making me look bad. In case you don't know, my friends in the audience, me and Cyrus were here before past. We're here before the show is meant to start, and I don't know. I find I have to restart my computer. I have to do this. I have to do that, and then
Now,
that's what keeps us
I
waiting,
can
right?
think of Cyrus being there. Yeah, sure, I can agree with that. But you, uh, That's just incredibly difficult to sell. I mean, my stomach is rumbling now, just saying that's just not true.
I'm always on time as well. My comment's going to be on YouTube, right? You know, look, I suppose I was talking to someone yesterday about this time thing, and I was saying to them, if I'm on time, I expect you to be on time. That's what I'm saying, really. Whereas now, my laissez-faire attitude tends to mean I don't mind if you're a few minutes the other side, but hell, as long as we're both here, let's have fun, right? You know, some people will spend the good first half an hour apologizing over your meeting. I'm like, stop doing that. Just get on with it. We're both here. Get on with it. Oh, okay. I'm like, yes, that's how it should be. I ain't got time to be apologizing. Less of that. So, my friends, so if you're here, drop us a comment. I can see you, but I can't see who it is. I can only see Marlene's comment. You know, tell us where you join us from. Tell us where where you are. Tell us how your day's been. Tell us what you want to tell us. Of course, you're welcome to join our conversation. The link to the StreamYard link is in the comments section of the event page. If you want me to send you the link directly, then just put in the chat here and I'll send the link to you. So I've got a couple of videos to show you, and I suppose I have a bee in my bonnet. It's not really a bee, right? No, this room is not a bee in this bonnet room. This is more, what does it take to do what we want to do big things? So the one thing I've noticed is that skill alone is not enough. You can't just use your skill. Sarah and I, we're always mulling over this reality that many people have amazing skills. They're legends in their fields, right? But they seem to truly miss the the alchemy, the thing. Je ne sais quoi, call it what you like. I'm going to Alavin's language as I speak. That thing, that's just that's that spark that gets people to resonate with you, like you, want to relate with you, want to be your friend, want to do business with you. Some people seem to lack this thing. What is it? What is it? It's not skill. It's not necessarily thinking.
It's called blah blah blah.
Except you can't measure blah blah blah, Michael. Which is how I got to personality being a possibility in terms of what we can develop more, maybe. Now, so let me go back a bit and say this room is it's titled "What If?" Based on our tendency as humans to, when we say "What if," go down the negative route. What if it goes wrong? What if I fail? What if it's not what people want? What if no one buys my stuff? What if doom, gloom? And I'm all for saying, let's drop that doom and gloom thing. Let's ask ourselves, what if it goes well? What if I change the world? What if my life is truly blessed? What if I was meant to create this genius? What if I actually get to have it all? That's why Lolette Hudson and I started this room years ago. I'm thinking 3 years now, probably. Because now she helps entrepreneurs as an entrepreneur mentor through her retreats and coaching to overcome the limiting thinking, what if, right? But I love the concept so much that I've carried it on. So even though Lolette has long gone to find busy people to help, helping entrepreneurs to achieve the potential is what really drives me. For all the things I talk about, the mindset, it's all about how do we achieve our potential? How do we exceed ourselves almost? Is that possible? I mean, we have so much potential. It's hard to put a ceiling on it, but many of us try to, right? Look, from the what if perspective, there's many things entrepreneurs need to do, think, know before we can create genius, right? That's what today's topic must takes us back a step. It takes us back to ask the question, who are we? Do we have necessary personal qualities? That's what personality really is. So I want to show you a video in a second about what is personality, and then we can have a conversation that I want to have. So in a simple way, look, I'm a psychologist, right? I'm a psychologist. I got a psychology degree. I'm qualified to do psychometric testing. Psychometric testing, there's essentially two parts: ability tests, or there's personality tests, and I'm qualified to do both. So this is my wheelhouse. This is where I probably spend some of my longest time learning about personality. I guess Cyrus and I were talking yesterday about MBTI, my Briggs type indicator, which is just a personality test. But it's one of the more popular ones, one of the ones we use these days. And now, do you want to know your personality type? There's many measures out there. There's so many different types, right? DISC is one of the more popular ones these days. But people like me, the pure psychologist, will say to you, DISC is not really personality test. It's a measure, yes. Whereas we like measures that are scientifically proven and almost linked through, is it correlation or is it through causation? This is fine points. Actually, you don't care about any of this stuff, right? Does personality cause behavior, or does behavior cause your personality? So as entrepreneurs, are we acting based on our personality, or can we change our personality and act according to what we need to do to succeed? These are the conversations I think we want to have today, my friends. Of course, if you have any different perspective, different arguments, different take on the whole thing, then do share with us, right? But I'll say personality really is what's inside us, and it's who we are, and it's our tendency to think, feel, and behave in certain ways. That's a simple way of looking at it, right? Our personality, is it fixed? I'm not sure. I think say we have tendencies, tendency to be more likely to behave in a certain way. But the sensible human knows to adapt how we do, how we feel, how we be to our circumstances, right? Otherwise, you're just a victim of your past experiences, you're a victim of your biology, you're a victim of your circumstance, you're a victim of something. So even though say personality is a thing, I think we have to learn somehow to move beyond our personality. My friends in the studio, and I wonder, what's your take? What's your take on personality? Are you a victim, or are you, one who designs your personality, who decides how you're going to be?
Who's going to start, guys?
You, by looks of things.
I shouldn't have asked that question. Okay, so good evening, everybody. My name's Cyrus. I'm the proud creator of whisperboy.com and the CEO of wendyjuno.com. So it's a pleasure to be in another event of yours, Annie. Your events are educational, and I love them. Calm and Alvin, it's a pleasure to be amongst you guys and learn from you. So in terms of personality types, some lady back in, I think it was 40s, along with her daughter, they created this. They read Carl Jung's books, and then they created a test, a psychometric test, based upon the readings, basically. And they, oh boy, did they do it justice. They did. So so your question is a really tricky one, Annie, like the rest of your questions. So are we the victims, or are we not the victims of our personality types? In my view and in my experience, I have been a victim whenever the fault lies within my own actions. I am a victim of my own actions. I am never victim of other people's personality types. Other people's personality types, if I don't allow it, I won't be a victim. Being a victim is some sort of stuff that you allow it to happen, or you won't. You choose to be a victim. You can be affected. You can take it further and say, yeah, I am a victim. Even if you are a victim, you're going to be a victim of your own doing. You're going to be a victim of the consequences of your own actions, right? Because the actions of other people is never half as strong as the actions and the consequences of the actions that you take. Okay, so in terms of personality types, there are 16 types out there, and every single one of them is a type of person, and they have to be respected. Okay, and they're not dangerous, or they're not good or bad in any shape or form. So as long as not all of those 16 types are within you, which I hope is not the case, when people's personality types become problematic, when the type of person who possesses that kind of personality becomes unpredictable. When it comes to business, I don't think it is the personality type that causes you to succeed or fail. It is the way you perceive world, which is affected by personality type, I admit. But the way you perceive the world and the way the world perceives you, and the version of you you deliver to the world, determines whether you're going to be success or failure. And even success and failure is not the end of the line. So we go from one success to another. We go from one failure to another. That's how it works. We go from success and failure constantly on a journey between the two, right? That's how life works. You lose and you gain. You win and you lose. So in terms of being a victim, no, Annie. I'm never a victim, and I refuse to be a victim and consider myself to be a victim. And I don't believe people are victims. And sometimes people say that they are victims because it suits them at that moment in time. But being a victim never, ever serves you in a positive way. Just gives you a negative mind, and a negative mind never gave anybody a positive life. Thank you.
I like that, and I think it absorbs your responsibility as well, right? You know, if you say you're a victim of, then it means you have no ability to control, to act differently. Dr. Yvonne, superstar, so glad you're here. Dr. Yvonne and I will have our room tomorrow. Let's beat toxic relationships. We're going to talk about calling back your power. Dr. Yvonne always has amazing conversations, right? Welcome, Dr. Yvonne. Glad you're here. Of course, Linda is here as well. How you doing, Linda? It was great to see you. So we just know we just wait for Dr. Lisa to turn up, and then my word is complete. Yeah, but thank you so much for being here, my friends. And I say we'd also hear your questions, we'd also hear your ideas in the comments. If you want to join the studio, then you're more than welcome. My friends on YouTube, you're great to see you, of course. Please like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't done so already. I know you probably have already, but just like and comment on today's video anyway. It all helps. Thank you so much. Let's who wants to go next? Mr. Calm or Miss Alavine?
Ladies, please. Ladies first, please.
So Alavine, you've been
All
nominated.
right. All right. It's okay. In fact, I think when we are a child, we let's say we are a victim of our environment because we are like a sponge and we need to learn from something or someone, right? But when we are adult, we have the responsibility to choose what we do, what with what we received from our childhood. And lately I was thinking about the difference between our personality and our character. And I think that we could be victim of our personality if we don't pay attention to our character, to our core values, to our principles, and we really need to, let's say, to think deeply about everything in our life, and it is quite important about that. So for the moment, I will stop with that because I am thinking about emotions, personality, and I try to remember everything I've learned from Red Cross about psychology. I always love reading about psychology and other things like that. So that's it, and thank you, Cyrus. I'm nice to meet you too, and thank you for your talk. That's quite important. Thank you very much.
So I mute myself while I'm talking. Thank you so much, Alavine. I guess now Cyrus mentioned an important thing which is easy to overlook. That the importance of consistency. Our personality, I guess, is what gives us the likelihood of being stable, being predictable. People know what we're going to do in a given situation. Of course, it may well change. We may decide at that moment, I may decide to be on time and start the show, on time, which I've done recently, Cyrus, many times, especially my shows with John, the Help for Ukraine guy.
How recent are we talking? 90s, 2000s, late
No,
us?
last
No?
no, what's today? Today's Tuesday. Monday, I was on time. Yes, I was on time yesterday. Right.
That's brilliant.
I remember when I'm on time. I remember when I go against my personality. It causes some discomfort, I must say, but I get over it, right? No, welcome, Mike. Mike says, "No, we're victors, not victims." I agree with you, Mike. We are. We're in control. So we can override the consistency that Cyrus talks about. See, but I will say this as well, though. I think that when we talk about personality, Alavin's point is salient, is important in the sense that, Alavin, the books don't talk about the things you talked about just now. I just realized the books don't talk about, you know, the importance of maybe even our character, the importance of our values. The books merely list a whole load of things that we can do, traits. That's why I mentioned the word traits, right? And but it doesn't cover personality in a way I think is helpful to most of us. I guess before I can explain that, I think we need to understand the basis of personality as a thing. So I want to show you a couple of videos. I know I'm going to screw up because one of these videos is going to have adverts of sorts. So I like to download my videos, and then that way I can put them on as I want to, right? Rather than play them, rather than screen share through YouTube, because then YouTube has its own way of doing funny stuff. Well, let's give it a go. Let's have a look at what personality is. Coach David, of course, I see you, my brother. So I'll come to you straight after the video, my friend. Okay, let me share the video, share screen. What's personality? Let's go for it.
Hello, all you big, beautiful brains out there. Today, we're going to talk about what is personality? The Before we get started, take a minute to subscribe to Psy vs. Psy. Help out your friendly neighborhood psychologist while I tell you all about personality. We all kind of have an idea of our own personalities, but what do scientists mean by personality? The APA defines personality as individual differences in patterns of thinking, feeling, and behaving. Basically, the traits about you that make you either the same or different from people around you. It's incredibly important for psychologists to be able to understand personality because it affects behavior. Remember, psychologists study the brain and behavior. To have a huge major thing like a personality characteristic that can affect your behavior means that all psychologists, no matter their particular area of focus, need to have a basic understanding of personality. There are psychologists who specifically study personality. And because psychologists are generally bad at naming things, those scientists are called, wait for it, personality psychologists. Personality psychologists study personality in two different ways. The first way is to look at personality characteristics, like, say, extroversion or narcissism, and see how a lot of people vary on just that one characteristic. A bunch of people, just one characteristic. The other way to look at personality is to look at a bunch of characteristics for just one person. So if you were to give one person assessments on a lot of different personality characteristics. So you just heard me say that key psychological term, assessment. There are lots of different scientific tests that can assess your personality, like the Myers-Briggs, the IPIP-NEO, the MMPI, and don't worry, we've got videos coming up about some of those. The assessments test for lots of different types of personality characteristics or traits. So things like extroversion, intuitiveness, openness, agreeableness, and even some things like paranoia. But remember, just because these terms sound like words that we're familiar with, they do have a scientific meaning that is operationally defined within that assessment. So, someone in your everyday life telling you that you're extroverted or paranoid is a lot different than a counselor, psychologist, or therapist telling you that you've scored high on an assessment measure on a trait like extroversion or a characteristic like paranoia. If you want to know all about personality and learn all about the science of psychology, make sure you subscribe to Psy vs. Psy so you can get all of our other videos. And until next time, keep thinking, and I'll see y'all later. Bye.
Annie, I think you're muted, mate. Calm, can you hear me?
Very much so. Yes, loud and clear.
I can hear
Any?
you. Of course I can
I
hear
can't
you.
hear any.
No, so I'm talking now, so you can hear me now. So I was stuck somewhere.
Yes. Problem solved.
So thank you. Welcome to Stanley. Great to see you, of course. Stanley is one of my sponsors of the show, so you get to find out about the Power Thinking app long before we go. So look forward to that, my friends. Power Thinking is tomorrow, right? And have a good headshot at achieving the road idea. Have a good shot, right? Okay. So one's confidence and belief in their ability to succeed despite setbacks, because you have a good shot at achieving your bold idea. I agree with you. I see. Look, I think in line with what Mike is saying as well. So the lady said something important. Personality, as we know it, is both a common understanding, but also a scientific term, the scientific thing, right? Scientific construct, so to speak. So what we know is not necessarily what the scientists are thinking when they're designing this test, psychometric test. The good ones are closer to being reflective of behavior. So maybe I'll put it this way: you can't just do a personality test, walk away, and say, "There's my results." That's what goes wrong with many of the said those big glee. No, say I think they literally tongue in cheek, half of them. No, the disc, for example. No psychometric test makes sense without the conversation. Without the conversation about when do you behave like this. Now, even when you use tests for assessments for recruitment, for example, I can't just give someone a personality test and say, right, this is what they are. That's it. Case closed. I'm walking away. They're not what I want. So I'm not gonna play, and I'm not gonna hang around with them anymore. There's no point because then they're just not right. That's not how it works, right? So our personality is much more malleable, and also, I'll say this: our personality is along a spectrum. Much like none of us here can say I haven't got autism. Or I've got autism, because they're both equally wrong. Autism is a spectrum. We have, either you are the high end, many of the characteristics of autism, or you're at the other end, where you have a very few of the characteristics, but still we have the characteristics. That's what a continuum is, right? And again, you hear many people say, I'm introverted. Yeah. Are you? Yeah. Maybe you are. But understand that it's a spectrum condition, it's a spectrum personality trait, in which case you are not entirely or without. It's not either or, and it's not all or nothing. We have a bit of everything in us, hence we can make choices about how we behave in certain situations. So some of us are bang in the middle. Which is that a challenge? Is that an opportunity? Who knows, right? It's we're who we are. We have tendencies, but the tendencies can't define us. That's my point today. But I haven't said all that. There's still tendencies that help entrepreneurs. Again, the woman talks about individual differences is what personality really is. It's how we differentiate ourselves from others. But I know from experience that as humans, we like to group people together, right? Categorize them, classify them, do whatever you want to use for that thing, where we say, right, all you lot are the same. All you lot ought to be the same. All you lot ought to see things the same way. This is a dilemma of personality, but there is maybe there is a certain picture of the entrepreneur who succeeds. If in case you're wondering why I waffled so much about what's personality, it's simply here's why. Are all successful entrepreneurs the same? Are they? I wonder. This is what my friends in the studio have to answer, and of course, you in the audience, you're more than welcome to give us some of your ideas, right? So this is where Sir Stanley's comments, confidence and belief. We know these are important. So Stanley, I've looked so many times today and thought, is that a personality trait? Confidence, for example, belief. I fear you're not going to find anything that measures these things, Stanley. Maybe confidence it might get away with. It might be someone that lose to confidence. But I think belief, it's almost like it's something that we invented in the last few years. Of course, I know we did. I'm saying, but it feels like it, right? Where the scientists haven't gone there because they couldn't quite conceptualize it, and then work out to measure it. Does that mean it doesn't exist? It's not important? Of course not. So, and I'm giving myself and us the opportunity to come out with what we know are characteristics of successful creators. So Stanley said the ability to succeed, despite setbacks, and and that gives us a good shot, right? Again, so are those personality traits? Probably not, right? Yeah, probably not. But they are important human personal characteristics that will either give you a chance to succeed or not. So that's a dilemma. Hopefully, you understand what I'm trying to point out here. Personality is real, but it's not really. It's not everything. So Mike says, I don't limit myself up to by my personality. If nothing else, I'll outsource things I may be limited in. I hear you, my friend. We can, I don't know, can we learn a personality? Can we develop a different personality? I will say this before I pass the mic to you, Mr. Calm. If you are, the whole point of personality, and let me use this angle instead, right? Is to give you an idea of your tendency in a situation. The smart people will adapt their personality to the situation that they have to face. Otherwise, you're kind of ruined, right? You're in trouble. If you can't adapt, you're in trouble. As Mark says, one personality trait of an entrepreneur is persistence and/or resilience. Yeah, well, two different things, Mark. Persistence, I guess, is the ability to carry on, as Stanley said, carry on even when things go wrong. Again, is it based on the belief that you will succeed? Probably. High belief leads to greater persistence. If you don't believe that you can succeed, why would you carry on? Why would you stick to the journey? Why would you persist? You wouldn't. But I think resilience is more, I guess, is it right? Is it the rising up? Or is it strength to keep going? Yes. Two of the same, but very different is my point, Mike. I see what you're saying. Who knows who's right? So I wonder what your take is. Mr. Calm, what role does personality play in who you are and how you be?
I really don't know.
I love that honesty. Just pure honesty, right?
I had a conversation yesterday with a person who ended up telling me that there's nothing more important than truth. In fact, the mind does not exist, only truth does. I have been pondering about that to this day, to this very moment, and try to weave it into this personality thing that you got going on. And I went into the depth, into yeah, it's taking me into an area where I now question if truth is if the mind is not real, what are we, in the Matrix? We don't exist, really? What are we? What imagination? If truth is the only thing that's real, his personality real? I mean, I make that up. That's something I conjure up myself. And it feels comfortable to me to be who I am. Why does it feel comfortable for me to be the way who I am? Yeah, I got out of my mom's belly. I had nothing. And I developed this because of the inputs and the outputs that she was giving me. And she was returning back and forth. And, all the people that I had engaged with or not engaged with, it's their input and and subsequently their outputs that I've been playing with, mulling around with in my head. Truthfully, Annie, at this juncture, I'm not so sure what my personality does or does not do, and how effective it is in making me successful or not successful. What I want to believe is that I can control it. I can control what it does, I can control what it does not do, and thus get to a point where I'm either successful or not successful. Determine what I desire and make adjustments towards that. But what am I adjusting? I guess I'm adjusting my personality every time when I do that, in order to get to a successful point or to get to a point of failure. I get to a point of failure, I try again. Because I believe failure is an opportunity for me to succeed. And that's where I leave it, Eddie. Leave it
Yeah.
up to you.
Welcome to the big dilemma. This is, you've captured the dilemma I think we have. So welcome, Philip. Philip says character is a thing. Character is the big thing for entrepreneurs. And look, I agree. Of course, I agree with you, Philip. I agree with you. Of course, I really do. I think that's probably where it lies. You see, my friends on stage, my friends in the audience, I would love us to come up with a list of traits that you believe successful creators, successful entrepreneurs need to have. So that's what we're going to get to. Character is definitely one of those. I think Mike is speaking more of your language, Mr. Calm, in that most entrepreneurs fail forward. And we need both of these traits. Look, fail forward, fail fast, but we must rise again, right? And hence your point earlier, Mike, about persistence and resilience.
Yeah. Also in life, you can fail backwards, by the way. So
of course you can.
The whole point is, fail
Yes.
in order to rise and overcome. Pick yourself up and continue. Because what else have we got to do?
You cannot learn. So I think the word failure again is a perception thing, right? Where it's a word that was conjured up to mean different things. And I say what we call failure in my eyes is simply a chance to learn.
Right. It's like that the word failure was something that we conjured up, and we now we can use it the way we want to use it. We can use it to amplify us, or we can use it to decimate ourselves.
I agree. You see, this is our human dilemma. This is a problem, right? Same as personality, where we can use it as the noose around our neck, literally. I can't do because I am an introvert. I can't do because my personality is not like that. Whereas, it's the same as failure. I can't do it because I failed. I'm a failure. So that's my noose. That's my curse. I'm done. But we can't look at life that way, can we, really, Mr. Carl? Because that's not how the world works.
Annie, can I say something about failure as well?
Of course.
As a person who's failed a lot, I think I am within my right to express myself here. Okay, I'm the expert. So, some people are really proud of their success. I'm really proud of my failures because it taught me how something is not done, right? So, one of the root causes of people's failure, the main one, is not people failing, really. It's the advice they take and who they get it from, right? Now, I want everyone to think, what is the worst kind of advice? And what's the worst kind of person you can receive advice from and apply it? Just answer yourself that question. What is the worst kind of advice? Or what type of person is it the worst kind of person to give you advice? And there are times in your life that you have received advice and you applied it and it resulted in failure. Why? Because, okay, let me put it in a different way. And I'm going to answer the question here. The worst kind of person who's going to give you advice is somebody smarter than you, or somebody you consider to be smarter than you and more experienced than you. Why? Because you never question that person's advice. And people's advice, more often than not, is wrong because it doesn't comply with your circumstances, right? So, as an example, what you need right now is receiving sales advice, and then you go to a marketer and you receive marketing advice. What you need right now is publishing your book, but you go to someone and they give you advice. Oh, your shop is on the wrong kind of market. Take your shop and take it elsewhere.
You need AI.
So
AI is what
the
you need.
need.
AI.
Oh yeah, you need AI. I'm not selling. I am struggling with sales. Oh, you know what you need? You need AI. No, 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 no. So remember, if you receive advice, if you've been receiving advice from somebody you consider to be smarter than you, more more than likely you have been suffering with that advice because you don't question it. And the worst kind of advice is the type of advice you do not allow yourself to question. You need to question the advice before applying it. It's like applying the wrong nut to the wrong kind of bolt, right? No matter how smart you think I am, the nut and bolt need to be kind of the right size, right? So um, the worst thing for a business or a personal development is not failing. You fail when you stop trying. You don't fail when you don't get the results you want. You fail when you stop trying, and you don't want to fail. So question the advice you're getting. You don't necessarily have to be confrontational about it. Just question it in your own head. Once somebody you think is smarter than you gives you advice, that's what I'm going to leave it at that.
Thank you. It's important in the conversation because we're good at listening to people who want to give us these easy steps, 10 steps to 5 steps to. And I would say ignore those things, ignore them completely, even if it's from the most successful person. Even if it must read to that, if the top five things, we know there's more than 5 things, number one. And two, like you said, Cyrus, his circumstance is so different to ours. And that's everyone who writes those things, does the videos about them, and say, no, their circumstance is so different to yours. So when I talk to people every day, sometimes I would just decide, you know what, I'm just going to listen because what I have is from a certain way, and I've been doing this for 10 years, and the internet is in a different period now than it's going to be when you're trying to do something similar.
Well,
I'm not
Lenny,
saying, go on.
there is something very interesting that you posed there. Because, and even when Cyrus also posed this too, when you fail in this universe. Supposing you hop, skip, and jump to another universe, you do the same thing, and it works. The exact same thing that failed in the other universe. Are you a failure? Or are you a genius? It all depends on the circumstances, right? Just like you said.
It always does. It always does. It's not all or nothing. So I love that way of thinking. So it's my chance to welcome superstar Mel. Mel, I've got your diary. I will book it tonight. I just keep being working. That's the word I'm looking for. I was going to say busy, but it's not busy. No, it's working instead. If you haven't been to Mel's shows, be visible with Mel. Normally on YouTube these days. She shares amazing guests who have overcome through the power of being, the power of being trusted, enough trusting, of being in their in their truths. So which leads me to Mike's comments. So look, whatever we shared today, my friends, in light of what we just said, Cyrus, honesty is probably the biggest trait that entrepreneurs need, if you ask me. Honesty with ourselves, honesty with our the people we're here to serve, our clients. Call it what you like, right? You call it transparency, Mike, especially with clients and employees. We have to know that many people want to succeed despite their limitations. Well, yes, we will have limitations, but I think honesty, to look at ourselves and say, right, here's what I could do better. Yes, I could come on time to my events, and I do, and I will, and that's honesty for you, right? I know it's childish the way I behave when it comes to time. So we have to be truly honest, and that's how honesty will then lead to maybe my second point, which I want to leave people with today. Which is the second point is my main point. I think we need that honesty, Mike, with ourselves and with our friends, our clients, maybe also with our community, to be the person that says, I will do what it takes to succeed. I'm sure you all know how big those words are, right? Without the if you don't say that to yourself, where are you going? I'll let that hang for a second. Mike, welcome. I see you. Let's go. I don't know who came first. Again, it's honesty for you. Let's Coach David or Festus. I'll let you go first, Coach David.
All right. All right. Thank you so much. Personality is a very deep thing. Thanks for that, Annie. I'll speak about personality now. I'll talk about failure. But before I go to failure, personality, let me just start with failure. Failure is all the excuses and a state of mind. And I'll give you very strong examples. A young lady said to me she's introverted. Because of that introvertedness, in quotes, as a trait, she doesn't want to talk. And thank you, everyone. I've learned so much. Cyrus, always a blessing. Michael and everyone, all protocols observed. Festus, good to see you again. And this lady says to me that she doesn't want to meet anybody or talk to anybody because she's introverted. So I said to her, for everyone you meet in this meeting, I'm going to give you, that time in Nigerian naira, 10,000 naira. And there were about 100 people in the room. And she said, are you serious? She said, actually, I love meeting people. It's just that I'm not motivated. But now you have created motivation. And she began to meet people. So at the end of the evening, I asked how many people out of 100 people she met. She said she met 80. I said to her, that's your reward. And she laughed, and we both laughed at it.
You're now broke, right, Coach David? No, so for those who are concerned, Coach David just spent £8.50. Literally.
So what's the joke? There are no weaknesses. There are no failure points. I can't do this. I can't do that. Only insufficient motivation. That's all. The thoughts, feelings, emotions, imagination, the mood, the predominant internal dispositions, whatever they are, that make you feel that you can't do something is a feeling. And that feeling is overwhelming. But under the necessary atmospheric pressure and temperature, it will change. All of a sudden, somebody says, I'm tired, I don't want to move anymore. Then a tiger enters the room, a live tiger. And he was 90. The 90-year-old man developed wings. He climbed into the ceiling, became far more agile than every other person in the room. The signals, and that's what Cyrus said. And by the way, the failure thought and imaginations might be yours. I can't do that. Beyond, you may be having internal conversations with yourself that is sponsoring that personality trait. Now, what you call personality is very deep. There are about 8 layers going on. That's what psychologists say. past experiences, mental programming, predominant environment. It's a lot. It's like onion, layer by layer, because I've studied personality. And self-awareness is what you're referring to, Annie, as honesty. To come home to yourself, to agree with yourself that these are the reasons. And you really may need a coach or someone that knows how to listen to personality or listen to the soul to know where these programs are stored. But beyond all of that, why is the bed more comfortable? Why are you late for events? Is because the comfort of your seat or the comfort of what you're doing per time is always stronger than the promise of going out. If, for example, they say if you arrive at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning, then I'll give you £1,000,000. All of a sudden, your bed becomes very, very stressful for you. All of a sudden, your bed becomes, there comes a time when if we keep adding additional units of pleasure to that future state, for example, I want to go out in the morning early. If we keep adding additional units of reward to that going out early or to that behavioral positive behavioral trait you want to now reprogram yourself as we continue to pile, it's like a scale. As we continue to pile value on it, now if I say things like theoretically you will live longer or everybody loves you, your business is getting more successful. As I pile all of those benefits to the outcome of that habit, of the good habit, the old habit becomes painful. If I really want to tilt the scale, I will make the old habit uncomfortable. For each minute you stay on the bed, somebody, for example, pours you a bucket of water. I'm just giving you theoretical examples. It doesn't have to be that way. All I'm saying is all those behavioral traits are there because they've been rewarded up till now. If you find reward system for the new behavioral patterns you want to see, all those old behavioral patterns go away. Every time you arrive early, I give you $10 or $20 or $30 or $50. Every time you start your event early, you get $100 or £100. Every time you start later, you have to pay. As you begin to do that to yourself, after a while, it won't move me because you're multi-millionaire already in pounds. So if I say £100 doesn't mean anything, I say £200 doesn't mean anything. When I get to somewhere maybe 1,000 or 20,000, at some point X, your body will begin to move. Your new habits will begin to form. So there are no successes, there are no failures, only unmotivated states of mind that are still receiving a reward from the previous state that was rewarded a certain way. So that's that. On personality traits generally, the rule is that we all have deficits and credits. There are things we want to change, there are things we don't want to change. I'll just leave us with one thought. What is the number one change? Because according to Pareto, in my work in emotions and neuro linguistic programming and my work in coaching, whether for a team or individual, there's one trait out of 10, or maximum 2 to 3 out of 10, that if you change, it will give you 80% of the result you're looking for. What is that behavioral trait? Locate it. It will be definite. That one is the one to work on. Out of a list of 10 behavioral traits that you have, there is 2 to 3 Pareto optimality principle that if you change or tweak it just a little, it can lead to massive 80% increase in your revenue, 80% increase in what you're doing. That behavioral trait is what you should change. And same for a team, same for a business. And it's the aggregate behavioral traits that flows from the soul of the emperor that the system imbibes. I used to have a CEO, 30 seconds more, who never comes late for a meeting. The group chairman. And let me tell you, nobody comes late. It just becomes a body language. You can't just, he doesn't talk, he doesn't harass you. It just gets to the point where you feel yourself very sad. So if you want to see any kind of results or any kind of behavioral trait in your staff or your business, begin to model it with yourself and your managers. The thing is that behavioral trait becomes your culture and your delivery. We rise and fall to the degree of operations excellence, or we rise and fall to the degree of the behavior our customers receive which is our behavioral culture or the predominant behavior that you see when I enter a shop. And that's also the brand I receive at the subconscious level. If I see Nike, there is a level of emotional attachment that is a branded matter. If I see Mercedes Benz, there is a psychological behavioral trait of that machine, and the people working in that organization have put that into the product line. So, as a businessman, that's the way you want to scale it up. That is the culture of execution. And we rise and fall based on our culture. We may set any kind of goals, but that behavioral trait that is felt through the line and engineering that through the line is the secret of business greatness. I stop there, I yield the mic, so I'm not guilty of that long thing I talk all the time. Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much. So many gems to share there. Look, I'll reframe the question in line with what you just shared, Coach David. What is the one thing an entrepreneur must have to achieve the broad idea? And that's not the question to everyone here, right? You know, I see you say, Mr. Yasun, right? I say, you know, this man's a genius. Is passionate about, you know, building farming ventures in the Caribbean. And let's change the world from being consumers to being creators. Like not just Caribbean, so Africa as well. So I think being passionate, being committed, and taking action. Yeah, I think those three
That's
are
an
probably
example.
that's right.
That's an example of an engineerable
Mm,
behavioral trait.
mm,
Passionate, committed, and taking action. We can run that into KPIs. It can
yeah.
become a behavioral trait within the organization. It can be measured. It can
Mm,
be actioned. So that is an example. For example, we can say committed and taking action in relation to our goals, and then we begin to engineer that. So every CEO must find what is that 2, 3 behavioral traits
mm.
that will give us 80% of our result
I
based on
agree.
our
I
particular
agree.
context. That's the
I
simple
agree.
thing. That
Yeah.
adjustment, this is a difficult one. That adjustment may not be easy for that CEO. It may not be your personal strength. It may be your area of weakness, but that is the business. If you can't do that adjustment, then you probably should resign. These are examples. Oh yeah, The business at times. That's how we say
No, hold on,
businesses.
hold
That's
on.
how we say business. Just a minute. Businesses choose their CEOs at times. If you know that adjustment is difficult for you and you can't achieve it, maybe you should become owner CEO. Sorry, you should become board member CEO and let
Mm,
somebody else run the business.
I would.
That adjustment that the business needs at that time, behaviorally, is a
I
secret
agree.
that's not negotiable for the success of that business. Yeah.
Listen, I agree. So now, I guess the bit I'm disagreeing, the bit I'm questioning, Coach David, is
Yeah.
I think we have what we bring to the table. You know,
Oh
so
yeah.
we'll bring something. I said, I bring the hardest work and the greatest amount of commitment to the cause. I bring everything to make this business work, right? But what I don't bring always is timekeeping. Timeliness is a personality trait,
No,
right?
no, no, no. Is it any that's an example. So in
Mm,
this case, if timeliness was discovered to be a 20 critical
yes.
20-30% factor.
Mm, mm,
If, for example, we are in a time-driven market,
mm.
competition, the industry is going time, you may opt to actually employ people who
Yeah.
are better timely managers than you.
Yes.
You may
Yes.
augment all of that. That's an option.
I
But
agree. I
but
agree.
between you and I, you have to become an embodiment of that timing,
Mm,
because that is the clock. You see, every enterprise flows from the soul of the emperor, and the weaker the soul of the emperor or the core of the nucleus, the edges begin to thin out and the signals begin to wane. Let me
yeah.
let me leave it at that.
You know, look, I think that you made many great points. You know, Coach David. You know, I think we have to embody the thing that will help succeed, right? We have to be the people who demonstrate and model that behavior. Well, I think when it comes to creating your bold idea, there's so many different parts. I think it's hard to say here is the one thing. So given the choice, so now Linda says believe in your abilities, for example. With that belief, we're done, right? That's a core trait I think we will need. Truth, but that's it. Then belief leads to everything else. Belief leads to action, leads to commitment that Yason mentioned, right? Now, with that belief, where's the passion going to come from? Where's the commitment going to come from? Why would we persist and take action as long as necessary if we don't believe we can succeed or believe in ourselves? So I'm trying to get us to focus on the big things, the real big things, and what's the non-negotiables. Are there non-negotiables in terms of what successful entrepreneurs are? I wonder.
I think there are.
Okay.
That is why I need to ask the question.
Okay, all right. Give me a second. Now, we're not done yet by a long way. Let's go to Festus, and I go to, I said, Mike. Festus, talk to us. What's your take, my friend? Where do entrepreneurs' personalities fit into the scheme of things? You're still muted, Mike. You're still muted, Festus. It's not me meeting you. So, oh no, Festus hasn't unmuted. Oh, Festus, that's so upsetting. But hopefully, you I don't know whether your connection is not working right now. But when you're on mute, I'll give you the mic. So, Mike, with the mic, talk to us. What's your take, my friend?
I've tried to narrow this down to a single attribute, and I think I've landed on one, and that is open-mindedness. Open-mindedness to the mindset of abundance versus scarcity. So we've talked a lot about honesty and persistence and resilience. But I think if we are not open, and this particularly as a leader, I think we have to be scoping out, this idea that we may have the only answer, I think is very limiting. So if we surround ourselves with creative people, people that are maybe not as creative, but are very good at running organizations, because sometimes a founder is not the same person that needs to run it. So maybe the founder needs to either step back, maybe become a chairman, or take a back seat, or move on to become start another organization. But I think overall, if we have a mindset of scarcity of abilities, and that includes ourselves, obviously. So that's where the belief, I think, is important. So we have to have a mind of abundant belief in ourselves. But I think it is a mindset shift, and it's being open-minded to new beliefs, basically new ideas, and not limiting ourselves in scarcity. That's what I got for you.
So that's more than enough, my friend. That's worth millions in itself, right? I love the open-mindedness as a way of being, a trait that type of person I want to be, because I think that covers many things, right? Apart from just the belief and the vision, I suppose, it also covers the willingness to learn. Because as entrepreneurs, we must learn. We keep every day. We keep learning. So as you mentioned, it almost doesn't matter where we learn from. Because you learn from juniors, you learn from other people, you learn from your coach, you learn from. But to learn, we must. We learn from our mistakes. We learn from our experiences, right? But learn, we must. Otherwise, we're doomed. I'll take that. I'll take that for sure. So of course I'll come back to the points as we go. Mr. Festus, thank you for coming back, my friend. Try again. Let's see if it works this time.
Okay.
Super.
Can you hear me?
Excellent. Yeah, perfectly.
Okay, network has really been trying to play with me today. I'm grateful to be here in your midst again, and the topic of the day is really something I would say I'm so passionate about because I think I've lived part of this story, this topic as a person. Because if we are going by a personality trait, I'm that guy that you would say I was a chronic introvert, right? I was not just introvert, I was super shy. I am this guy that I hardly go into a gathering of more than 5 persons, and sometimes even two individuals if there are people I've not met before. And I to give you an example, my home, our house, my mom was a hairstylist. So my sisters kind of picked up that skill. And on a typical Sunday in our house would be them plaiting their friends, and everywhere would be so filled with them and that plaiting stuff. And being that guy that is super shy and very introverted, I would find it difficult to come back home if I leave very early in the morning and only to realize that they are already gathered in the house plaiting their hair rather, sorry. And if I'm in the room, then it becomes a problem because I might not go out of that room that day. This is how serious it was for me. But it got to funny, right? It got to a point where something has to change. So let me say this before I continue a bit. I think our vision or personality trait bows to our vision. If the vision is clear enough, your personality traits, whatever you define yourself with, will have to change automatically. Nobody has to tell you. That is what happens to me because I got to a point where I am in between deciding to give up on what I have conceived in my mind, or decide to give up what I think was standing in my way and push on with that thing that I have conceived in my mind. And I think it's not just me. Let's talk about Steve Jobs, for instance. If you talk about personality traits, that guy should have been kicked out of business for a couple of reasons. Because this is someone that would be defined as very demanding, very difficult, very cold, narcissist, a lot of names. But this is one guy that helps us to redefine technology, how we use technology. So it all boils back to the fact that when you have good relationship with your vision, your personality trait is not going to be a stumbling block. So for entrepreneur or anyone who wants to achieve a big idea, it's all about how much of your relationship with your vision, how much do you believe in it, how much are you willing to make it happen. And to add that up, or to some, just throw in something a little bit here. My journey into entrepreneurship, business world, started with as little as 40,000 naira in 2017. That was me trying to prove to my people that it doesn't matter how much you have, if you really have the idea, you can make it work. And I pushed in with that, and I'm still pushing on, pushing with that business right now. This is 8 years after that. If I didn't go in with a lot of money and I'm still in the business, I think I deserve some kudos, right? So the whole thing here is achieving bold idea is all about your relationship with your vision. How good is that relationship? How much do you understand your vision, and how much are you willing to push every boundaries to make it happen? So that would be my take for now. So much to
Yeah,
say because yeah,
that's superb.
thank
No,
you.
thank you. No, thank you. I can't thank you enough. Say, and I got this vision of the people in our rooms, in our events, especially those who come to speak, to be willing to do whatever it takes. Because I think our audience want to see us succeed, right? That will give us more credibility in their eyes. We're that, and then when I we again, this is my coach's dilemma. where you want your coach to succeed, to be successful. That way, it's easier to tell people that person changed my world. Whereas what we see instead is coaches who are struggling, not because they're not good, but because of something. I don't know. This is hence my topic today, right? What is the missing thing? What's that thing that they're missing? Are they missing something? I don't know. Maybe that's how the coaches are meant to be, right? I don't believe that, by the way. I'm just saying. I'm giving you an option, right? No, but I think,
Can I ask a question
of course you can. Of course you
what do you mean they are missing something? Describe that thing that you're seeing missing
can.
clearly,
Okay.
so that we can
I
so
would,
that
I would like to
Okay.
follow up.
I, I,
I'd like to follow up and ask a question to Coach David after you're
okay.
done answering.
Let me answer the question first, right? No, Cyrus and I will say we'll talk about this regularly because I see many great coaches. You see them too, right? Especially on here, many coaches. And I guess it almost looks like they are almost, maybe even 90% are not living the good life that they tell us we can live, right? And the evidence, the visible part, Coach David, is that these coaches, they have friends, but they haven't got an abundance of clients. They haven't got people screaming about how great work they've done with them. But I'm sure they've done great. I'm pretty sure they've done the great work because I know the coaches I know are very good, right? But there seems to be a barrier between their great work, their personality, their approach, and how people see them, how people feel them, Coach. So I mean, if that barrier didn't exist, I guess my belief is that these coaches could help more people. Again, I'm making a big distinction between the very, very good coaches as opposed to the newbies talking coaches, which are also there, right? The ones who've read the book and gone, oh, I know it. Now this is it. And you're like, if you probe any deeper, you realize there's a vacuum somewhere, Coach. So there are people who do amazing things. But it seems like there's a gap between what they do, what they say, and how people approach them for help because they don't believe, or I don't know what it is. That is what I'm saying, Coach. I don't know what it is. Something's missing somewhere where there's a gap between the geniuses that we have amongst us sometimes and the people they want to serve. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. There is something. It's a big issue that you're raising. There are many talented coaches. So this is truly talented coaches who have the capacity to do more. This is not someone that does not have value, because there are many coaches that are cockroaches. I'm sorry to say it that way. And this is not me casting any aspersions. This is me saying, I asked coaches a few questions. If you had the last $100 on you, would you pay yourself? Is there tangible genius inside what you're selling? Did you read? Are you able to move people from point A to point B? After someone gives you $100 or $200, what value did it get? Not man hours, not coaching hours. How did their lives move forward? If I were to take cognizance, what installed capacity do people have after they spend the $100 for 4 sessions, or $200 for 4 sessions, or 6 sessions, or the bundle product, whatever you're doing? What installed capacity? If I buy a refrigerator, I buy a laptop, I'll see the laptop in my house. If I buy a car, if I buy a coaching service, from a life cycle perspective, what value are you to me? So this question is about people that have value. So, what is the one trait they need, or two, or three?
I
A lot.
agree. I agree.
So this is it. Your belief system. There's something that Coach Festus said. I'll be surprised if Festus is not a coach because he says a lot of things. And Mike LeBlanc also said it in passing. I think Cyrus also said it. Belief system. Beliefs drive your actions. Your belief system. Your belief system. Belief is also a reservoir. You will take massive action in the direction of your dominant belief. How is belief system or beliefs? How are they built up? Your thoughts, feelings, emotion, your interaction internally, your meditation internally. You see, the more you absorb your vision, the more your muscles receive inspiration to act on their own. When you see an athlete that's trying to cross a barrier, when they are jumping, they increase the barrier, you jump. They increase the barrier, you jump. What is the rule? The rule in athletics is see mentally, believe, and become one with the jump. See yourself over the bar, and your body will follow because the mind and the body are one. Whatsoever your mind can conceive, your body will begin to act. Mike, you're a musician. If you want to play at your highest levels, set a mental picture, set a mental image, set the feeling, the emotion, the imagination, the idea, become one with it and practice that way. Even if you've not been there before, that belief system will begin to give you genius solutions in your muscle. You begin to act a certain way. That's what Francis was saying the other day about setting your frequency. If you set your inner being at that frequency by practicing deeply, mentally, spending time psychomentally to acquire the belief system or the belief engine. Because that belief system is engine. There's 1.0 liter engine, 2.0 belief system, 3.0, 4.0, 5.0. The same type of function or that same gift or capacity, whatever result you're looking for, if you set your inner being and your delivery internally, your muscles will come up with solutions in the market. For example, I want everyone who finishes a 1 hour coaching session with me to go bring their friend who will pay me. Is a mental belief system that you will program into your mind. And if you program it hard and well, you begin to say things you're not prepared for. You begin to deliver service, your smile, your body language, your voice tonality. Your subconscious mind, once it accepts it, will begin to give your muscles new solutions. The person will just find themselves programmed to go and tell their friend. Whatever you program into your delivery and your soul will become your reality on the ground. And this genius is embedded. You don't even know what you're saying or doing. It just begins to manifest naturally. That's one. The other thing is you got a lot of work to do in marketing, in selling, in meeting people, and you have to spend money on sales. You got to employ salesmen at a level. You have to employ AI at a level. You got to look at your profile and do the work. Are you really hungry for 1,000 customers? And that means you're going to have new systems. You got to build new networks. You got to build. There are people in PR who help people source for jobs. That is, they help you source for clientele. There are events where you go to where you want to sit. You got to have a PR marketing budget. That's my take. At a level. So it's level by level. At a point, you got to employ Annie, who said, Annie says, I will make you famous. I was on the bed when I was lying down the day I read that phrase. I said, no, I need to call the guy. And I put a call through to him. And we are here today. What's the point? You have to spend money on your brand, build it, grow it, level by level. You got to get marketers and salesmen at some point. Tony Robbins has a lot of them. John Maxwell has a lot of them. Anybody who is doing big work in the coaching industry has marketers and salesmen at a level. So those are at the point you have to get office in prime location at some point. But before you get to that point, little by little, you have to build your sales network. Yeah. Thanks for that. That's my thought.
Thank you. You know, again, there's many ways we can look at that. You know, everything you said, Coach. And I say, Marlene, I agree. And I say, what? As we grow up, as we get better, as we get, become the person who achieves our dreams, we gain freedom. So, that's the truth, right? It's that freedom that drives most entrepreneurs. That wanting to be free of everyone and everything. It doesn't mean that we don't work. It just means that we determine our days. Now, Marlene, this is what drives me every day, right? I've earned a level of freedom that gives me joy, and I'm loath to give it up for anything. That's so, it brings us back to Coach David's points, and maybe all the points that everyone's made today, right? The person who has that vision, who has a belief, who has a passion. We must be honest with ourselves. Honesty means, like I said, doing what you have to do. Honesty gives you the will, that drive, that thing that means you do what needs doing. You don't procrastinate. Yes, you might have subcontracted, but you will get done what needs to get done. Unless you're that person, you're stuck, right? And I love the concept of mastery, of course. Mastery again is part of the will thing for me. In that mastery means you are as good as you can be in whatever it is you do, but you continuously improve, because mastery, the word doesn't stop, the word doesn't pause, the word doesn't say, well, you have to publish a book, so that's enough. It's never enough. We keep learning, we keep learning more, right? And we keep developing new ideas, new solutions. This is the entrepreneur who achieves their bold idea. Coach David, I love you. I don't know. Of course, I'll agree with you. Without investing in marketing, no one's going to know you exist. No one's going to, people you want to serve will know you're there. It doesn't mean you have to do it yourself, but you need marketing. I mean, every company out there does marketing. Now, why does Coca-Cola still do marketing? Why did Mercedes do marketing? Why did Nissan do marketing? They're the biggest brands in the world, right? They still do marketing. McDonald's. It's not because they think no one knows they're there. It's because they have to keep ahead of the competition, right? Because everyone has a choice. They can go somewhere else. You don't market. The people that you want to serve, we just go somewhere else. Who's doing more and better marketing than you? So again, I love your point about investing in yourself. So I wonder if that is taking a risk in your business. Because a lot of people don't want to spend money because for whatever reason, I can do it myself. We'll see. I'm sure we'll see it every day. I'll budge my way, and I'll bludgeon my way through. If I get it right, okay. If I don't, I'll learn a lesson, and next time I'll come back and pay someone to do it. But I will do it myself because it's free. It's not free. You're doing DIY is not free. It's your time. It's your time well spent doing a task that's not in your wheelhouse, or it's your time well spent getting someone to do the stuff expertly. And you do the money-making things that you are there for as the entrepreneur, as a founder, as an owner. These are all questions. Go, please. Go, Cyrus.
Yeah, I was gonna say, can I say something about this coaching?
Of course.
Concept.
Say that. I play one of my sponsors' videos. Go for it, my friend.
Yeah, sure. I was gonna say, I help people launch their products. So it could be anything. It could be a book, could be a coaching session, coaching course, could be a product, right? Products and services, basically. So I had a client a few months ago, and he had marketing problems, but I was trying to explain to him, you have marketing problems, so you need a marketing team. So hire a marketing team who will do your socials for you as well. So what he did was he went against the advice, literally, and carried on paying $600 a month to this coach person or guru kind of person that he really, really believed in. Now, this is a living testimony to what Coach David was eloquently explaining about. So sometimes your business or your life or your relationship needs something, but you are investing in something else. I've done that, and the outcome is not it's not pretty. Okay, let me put it that way. So that person carried on suffering from the marketing point of view, and they didn't manage to resolve the marketing issue, because that person they are paying is providing them with some sort of advice. Like I was like, what is it that you are receiving advice on? That is the main reason you cannot afford your marketing. So it must be very important. And he said to me, this coach has been with me since I started. Now I have a budget, and I have some sort of I feel some sort of moral obligation towards that person, and that is the reason why I'm paying him. So the belief system, the belief that you have inside your head, and the belief I have inside my head, that is the invisible force. We can't see it. Sometimes we can't even sense it, but we can see the outcomes. That's the invisible puppeteer that is pulling the strings left, right, and center. So if your business is suffering in some shape or form, or if you do not have a business, you have a hobby, which means you have a business which is not making money, you need to double check and check that invisible force, which is your belief system. Is your belief system that it's okay to carry on and wait for the right moment? The right moment may never arrive, right? There's no guarantee. Tomorrow is not promised. So you got to do something about the progress of your business, relationship, personality right now, because at any given moment, your personality, your business, your relationship is getting either worse, it's either getting better or it's getting worse. There's no steady, okay? There's no such thing as steady progress. You are either going, the trend is either upwards or the trend's downwards, right? There's no steady. Even if it feels like it's steady, in reality, you'll find 2 months down the line, it wasn't, okay? It was a temporary thing. So where you spending your money, where you allocating your resources in your business or in your relationship, it's of utmost significance, because you will see the results 6 months down the line, right? So if you're about to make a decision in 6 months, please remember, do it now, because 6 months will come in the same way that 6 months ago came and went, right? So, and if you spending your resources, spending your money out of feeling obligated towards something or someone, that is damaging to your business's foundation, and you shouldn't do that. Your business deserves much better than that. That's all I want to add. And also, I'm going to finish on this. If you're paying a coach, remember, always choose a coach whose business is not just talking about things. Pay a coach who's a living testimonial to the principles they are teaching. So as an example, if I go to David and I see David has a business of coaching and has turned that knowledge into an actual business, that is a good coach to pick. But there are like 90% of coaches on LinkedIn, they know about coaching. They are very knowledgeable and they are fantastic in terms of theory. But how practical and useful is their advice to your business? That's what really matters. I don't care if they wear shiny clothes or they wear shiny they drive shiny cars. If their business is helping your business, go with them. Otherwise, if they only talk about it, avoid them. That is you saving money and heartache and heartbreak. Thank you.
This is very. Thank you for that, Cyrus. This is everything Cyrus said right now. Any deserves to be framed, and it's so deep. Let me say this quickly. A person, the result you're looking for, should select the kind of coach you should go look for. In the hospital, there are different kinds of doctors. So even for coaches who want to build businesses, in fact, let me backtrack a second. One of my challenges with coaching is we have more celebrity coaches than celebrity coaching clients. I thought the coaching exercise should be about the client. But you see many coaches talking, wearing fancy stuff, doing big campaigns, and they're the celebrity. What about their clients? The joy of a doctor is not supposed to, in the professional consulting world, we say it all the time. Your advertisements are your clients that get better or they get well. So if a medical doctor has a hospital and we see only the doctor's face on the billboard every time, only the doctors don't advertise like that. They typically will have, well, even if there's a doctor whose face is on the billboard, the doctors who do the job, their face are not the surgeons. Then in the surgery, they're doing something in the surgical rooms and changing lives there. Now, if you have a coach who is overtly noisy everywhere, look for clients that have gotten better. What is the client is genuine? And there are deep fakes online nowadays, by the way. Genuine client testimonials. And to the last, to my last point, Michael, thank you for that. Cyrus, thank you for that beautiful point again. There is a type of sales / marketing. There are two different functions. There's a certain kind of sales / marketing personality or team or intervention that you need. The marketing communication spectrum contains about 12 interventions at top level. Which one or what kind of marketing / sales / branding solution do you need? Or which one should you focus on per time as a coach? Should you go after sales? And what mix should you apportion your budget? So maybe you need someone to help you think through that, who is a consultant, or someone like Cyrus, who's helped people. If you have a product to launch, talk to Cyrus. If you have a book to sell, or you want to get famous by authorship and thought leadership, I recommend any. Different kind of professionals need. I really want a product or service tomorrow morning that will be global at this scale. Then talk to Cyrus. What's the bigger point? People hire a marketing team or a marketing coach in quote when what they were looking for was a core sales coach. And in coaching, in sales coaching, there are retailers. There are those that help you reach retail, and there's a budget per month. There are what do you call that now? There are retailers and the guy who do sales. I've forgotten that name now. Corporate sales. There are retailers and corporate sales people selling to B2B. That's business to business. B2C, or business. Your business is selling to consumers or retailers alone, and there's also the one that sells to both or the hybrid. And there are those that sell to governments and big corporates. So knowing and designing who to talk to and who to bring into your coaching marketing intervention. And what do you want to just build your brand and you're not monetizing immediately, or you want to build the brand and monetize simultaneously, or you want to build the brand first and all that phasing, what mixture should be when? This is very important if you really want to make money on. The beautiful thing with the internet is that you can actually have one client who pays your bill for the next 2 years. And you can have 20 clients who and you are barely keeping the doors open. So thank you for that, Cyrus. That's a very important point. What kind of professionals or professional do you need per time? And you must be able to adjust and be open to understanding who will help me achieve what after setting the belief system challenge. Thanks.
No, thank you. Yeah, as you're talking, Coach, I guess I'm realizing customer centeredness is probably a personality that we all need, or at least a habit that we need to develop as entrepreneurs to achieve our bold idea. We have to know who we're working for and what we're going to do for them. I think we have to keep that front of mind, right? Welcome, Luz. I see you. How are you doing, my friend? Glad you're here. Look, I want to show you a couple of videos, and then we can wrap up, my friends. I don't know which one to show you first. Let me show you Donna's one.
Hi, my name is Donna Martin, and for those of you that might not be familiar with me yet, I am CEO of the Good Life Approach, and what I do is help people best to thrive in those micro moments, in those real-time moments when life happens and takes over. So this video is about me introducing you a bit to me and to what I've created in terms of the Daily Reset. This is burnout prevention course for busy individuals. Doesn't matter your profession, doesn't matter where you've come from, doesn't matter about your background, your knowledge, your skill set, any of that. What matters is where you are and where you are choosing to be. If you're somebody that is consistently coming up against it and allowing your external outer world to dictate your results, the Daily Reset will support you in bringing you back to your present moment and deciding intentionally how you choose to reset so that the impact of whatever's going on doesn't continue to impact your day. That's the power of mind shifting. That's the power of self-awareness. And that is the power of understanding who you are, how you operate in terms of your physical body function, your mechanical mind, and the spiritual soul side of you. This isn't magic, it's intentional manifesting. And those daily resets, those wins, those successes that you choose to create for your own version of the good life all start with simple, easy, go-to tools that are all packed inside the Daily Reset. Feel free, if this calls you, to check it out.
I don't know whether now, because the Daily Reset, the burnout prevention program, is now accredited. So it counts. So doing the course counts towards your continuous development points. In the UK, I guess we'll talk about CIPD points, right? I don't know what you do in the US, but essentially, if you undertake the program, it will count towards your development formally. So and so Donna is the best mindset coach I know. She's the one who's changed my life and changed everything by what Annie does and how Annie does it. So I've always got all day for her, for sure. Okay, my friends, so I would love to sort of go around and take your one big characteristic.
Michael, Calm had a question for me, remember? Michael,
Okay,
Calm.
Calm, please ask your question. Ask your question, my friend. Yeah.
I'm not motivated.
Well, you are, clearly.
Of course. What is the significance of motivation in comparison to a belief system and in comparison to open-mindedness?
Okay.
As defined or described as by Mike and Festus. Go ahead, Coach.
Okay, please help me. What are the three definitions? So, because
what
you
is
should
the
compare
significance?
apples for apples. What are you calling motivation? What are you calling? Yeah.
Motivation, as you described it initially when you made that first what do you call it? what do you call it, notification to us
Yeah.
that that
Yeah.
is something that we've got to consider as
Yeah.
a personality trait. Also, open-mindedness, and also the belief system as well. Those are three that I have jotted down as something that you have value of, but one of them is more significant than the other. But I'm not so sure which one it is. So I wanted to talk to you and find out if you could channel me
Mm. Mm.
through those three
Bel-
differences.
Belief system is the highest. Is the container that contains both open-mindedness and what I call motivation. What I call motivation, remember, words are not meanings. What I call motivation, you can call it value addition. What I call motivation is sufficient reason to change a weakness. So both that reason and the second one you mentioned,
Open-mindedness.
open-mindedness, exists inside belief systems. For a reason to be meaningful to you. Some people don't care about money. So if I use the money example, that's on the motivation side. Some people don't move. They are wired. They are not wired to move by money. So if you like, say they'll get a $10 million thingy, they don't care. So that's a wrong value value parameter to use to try to help them change. Let's call it actually change trigger. What you don't have is sufficient triggering. But that for that trigger to be meaningful to your subconscious, it must also exist in your belief system as something that you accommodate. Do you understand? Open-mindedness against the function of belief systems. If you believe, for example, theoretically, as an example, that all there is to do, I have done. All there is to know, I have known. I've done hard work. I've been everywhere. I've met everybody meetable. That's closed-mindedness is rooted in your belief system. If somebody were just to convince you to try again one more proposal, or somebody just gives you a paradigm shift, for that paradigm shift to make sense, it must enter your belief system to look for something that correlates. Your belief system must allow that communication coming. So belief system is the container. Belief system is what there should actually be school material from primary school about belief systems. My opinion. My opinion is that from primary one, people should have belief system 1.0, primary two belief system 2.0, primary three belief system. You understand? We should have a belief system curriculum that is as strong as from primary one minimum. That's my opinion.
Yeah, interesting. Look, I think I agree with you, Coach. Motivation is almost it's a red herring. It's a fleeting thing. It's a choice we make. Like something,
Let's
is
call
that
it let's call it change trigger. Let's substitute that word for change
yeah,
trigger.
yeah. I'll take that. Is it is what gives us a choice to take an action or not take an action.
Yeah.
Sorry, Halloween. So motivation it can come and go, and our levels might change on different days. If I don't sleep well, for example, my energy levels are down, right? No, I'm not saying motivation is not important, but I think we can't rely on motivation alone because, as Coach said, many things will leave us unexcited, unwilling to get out of bed. As I said earlier, when we judge the rewards to be enough, then we might move. Many people don't judge the rewards to be enough for anything to actually move themselves, right? So motivation, it's an important concept, right? But again, I think maybe it's one that we can discuss one day because I think I think the will, the drive to do what it takes is more important than that motivation, for example. So but the drive won't come, motivation won't come if you don't have that abundance mindset that Mike talked about earlier. The belief that you can do it, the belief that you can change the world, you can change your world, you can change other people's world. But motivation it's an interesting topic. Again, it's probably maybe the third most that we learn as psychologists at in education. The other one is management and leadership, by the way, in case you're wondering. You know, so
about motivation, Annie. Can I add something about motivation?
of course you can.
People who've been listening to the show so far, I just want to firstly say thank you so much for spending your time with us. You could be spending your time anywhere, but you chose to spend it here. That means you value the show. And just so you know, I value you and we value you. Thank you so much for spending your time with us. Secondly, about motivation. I'm going to ask you a question, Ellie. How do you take petrol? How do you take petrol to an island? Did you hear my question, Ellie?
It's actually a question, and it was. No.
How do you take petrol to an island?
In a petrol container, I imagine.
Yes. So in a petrol container. Now, I want you to imagine 2 islands, right? So in one of the islands, Annie is responsible for taking petrol to that island. 2 p.m. every Friday, Annie takes the petrol to the island. That's island 1, island number 1. Island number 2, Cyrus takes the petrol to the island. If Cyrus's mum cooks something nice for him and he's in a good mood, he might take petrol to the island number 2. And all the islanders are now waiting. Imagine that. So they are all hoping and praying. My mum cooks me something nice. They're not going to even ask me, why is it that my mum cooks for me and not myself, like lazy so-and-so, right? Anyway, so which one of these 2 islanders have happier people and businesses? Of course, island 1, because Annie takes the petrol 2 p.m. for every Friday, right? They can rely on him. People don't have to rely on his mood, whether he's happy or not. Is he in the mood to bring us petrol today? Are we at the mercy of his mood? So that's what some people do to their business. I'm not in the mood for a discovery call today. I'm not in the mood to make that phone call. I'm not in the mood to take the products to the customer. I'm not in the mood to return my inquiries, return the email inquiries. I'm not in the mood to sit down with my editor and finish my book today. I'm not in the mood to do this and that. So consistency is the answer. If your business is at the mercy of your mood, your business is doomed, whatever that business might be. Your relationship as well, right? So mood should not be a deciding factor. It shouldn't be a determinant kind of factor. Consistency. Friday, 2 p.m., the petrol is with you. That's it. And all the islanders are happy, right? So the examples that I just gave you is just the contrast between being mood-centric or being consistent, right? So being motivated is good, but is not a good tool to actually apply to your business or to a relationship. And I'm going to leave it at that. Thank you.
I like that. Look, one of the things Coach David said much earlier, is, I guess, the willingness to truly buy into what you're doing and to do, it is to do what it takes, right? We're actually willing to put all the work in, and so that means so much. It's how we feel is not the answer. What we do is the answer. And we must be willing to turn up, as you say, Cyrus, consistently, do what it takes. But that's where I think most entrepreneurs crash and burn. They're not willing to do what it takes. Yes, we might need a bit of luck. We might need a bit of something. But in the absence of that something, what do? Do we sit there and wait? No. We take the first steps. We do what it takes. I think when we do that, we find the solutions to all our problems. We really do. When we take the first steps, we learn something. We start working towards becoming that person who does that. Mr. Khan, do I put you on mute or are you sharing with us? Okay, I'll put you on mute for a second while you deal with your business. My friends, I want to show you a quick video before we say, then we can begin to wrap up. Because I'm meant to be meeting Marlene as we speak. So let's look at what they tell us about the traits of great entrepreneurs, right? There's a few minutes of this, so here it goes, my friends.
Characteristics of a great founder, more often than not, are that you're an inventor, that you're often thinking about new things, that you're a self-starter, that you're passionate, and that you're a problem solver. Those are sort of common across everything. At Forerunner, people always ask us what makes a great founder, and we've consolidated it to 3 adjectives: magnetic, disciplined, and visionary. The reason is your job as a founder is to sell all day long. You're selling to your investors, you're selling to your family members who are asking you why you don't have a real job, you're selling to your team who wants to quit because no one's getting paid and they don't know what they're doing, and you're like, no, don't leave, this is going to be a big thing. You're selling to every single person all day long. And so if you are not magnetic and people aren't naturally drawn to you in some way, it is really hard to do this nonstop. So the best founders in our portfolio are ones where people will drop their jobs and join, no salary, no anything, and they just want to be with the founder doing this thing. The discipline side is, I hope, a little bit obvious, but you've got like $5 in your bank account and you have a lot of things you have to accomplish. So are you the type of person that's going to know exactly what needs to be done to move the needle forward? Nothing more, nothing less. You know what it takes, minimum viable product, to show what you're trying to do. And that is something that we see in our best founders. Visionary is that I am not in the business of funding good companies. I'm in the business and I get paid to find extraordinary outlier companies. Venture capital is only successful on outliers. And so if you're not visionary, if you're thinking, I'm going to build this great company and I think that it's going to be $50 million in 5 years and we're going to make $5 million of cash flow, that's amazing. And that's a lot of money in your pocket, but that does not make me successful. That does not make our endowments and our LPs successful who've invested in Forerunner. And so if visionary isn't a word you would use to describe yourself or your future goals, maybe this isn't something that you want to do. The super skill going along with magnetic is that this job is all about hiring, 100% hiring. If you can hire the team to win, you don't need to be the smartest person in the room. You don't need to be the best person. You need to be you need to be the person to know who to bring onto your team and to get them there and empower them to do their job. If you're good at that, you'll be a successful founder. And the benefit there is 100% ownership. It is yours. It's your baby. No matter how ugly it is, it's your baby. And it's fun. I do think it's a lot of fun to have that type of ownership. But the key drawbacks, and I would say people don't think about this, is it's incredibly lonely. There's no one else that you can turn to because it's all on you. You have your partners and you can talk to your friends, but ultimately when you can't make payroll, that's on your shoulders. And that is a heavy burden for anybody. So the loneliness is real. The instability, obviously, it is what it is. And the high beta is, I think, what a lot of people get excited by. It's just this huge, huge outcome potential. But with that is just a huge zero. And I think after that, it's hard to rally. The right timing here, I would say, is when you're ready. I mean, that's kind of stupid, but it's true. You'll know in your heart if you're ready to start this. I knew that I wasn't ready until I was ready. And then when the thing happened with my family, I wasn't ready anymore. And so you have to know where your risk appetite and your financial flexibility meets in the middle and crosses over with that founder bucket. It obviously helps if you have an idea and some experience in the space, but you don't need it. I mean, I think there's a lot of founders that get out there and just want to do something and they're hungry and trying stuff, test and iterate. And so you can still be successful doing that.
You get the idea, my friends.
Okay. Today, I'm going to talk about how to succeed with a startup. Obviously, more than...
Stop sharing. I tell you. I haven't got this screen sharing sorted out on here yet. I don't think the platform helps me, right? My friends, you get the idea. There's many things entrepreneurs must have, many things. But I like how she breaks it down, now being magnetic. That's what I was saying earlier, Coach David. Many good people are not magnetic. They haven't got the je ne sais quoi. They can't. People are not drawn to them. Maybe they are, but the people they want to work with are not drawn to them. of course, being a visionary, I'm sure we can all agree with, and being, we talk about motivation just now. I think being disciplined is important. Being focused and committed to what needs doing. So there's many things that I'm sure we could all mention. So let me go around and say, and I'll ask you the question: what is there anything you'd add to that list? Festus, is there anything missing on that list as far as you're concerned in terms of becoming that person who achieves a broad idea?
Okay. Um, okay. What it takes for anybody to achieve their bold idea, for me, it has a lot to do with the vision. It has a lot to do with the vision because let's face this, right? Um, I love to use Apple as an example in conversation like this because they created something that gives a good example when we talk about personality, we talk about what it takes to achieve a vision. Wozniak has the idea, let's say he's the brain, he's the mind, but Steve happens to be that guy that can interpret this vision, can tell a story, can be able to turn the whole thing around. He has this super drive and he has this vision. One thing we all can agree about Steve Jobs is the fact that he knows who to hire, and he doesn't he has zero coding skill. He doesn't code nothing, but he knows who can do the job. And he's that guy that would sit down. Wozniak said something. He said Steve Jobs is that guy that would supervise people who do coding, and yet he would say things like, he wouldn't go like, okay, do your thing, you do what you know how to do best. I don't have idea in this. He said Steve wasn't that guy. He's the guy that, despite not knowing how to code, he would tell you, this should be done this way. This should be done. How about we do it this way? That is vision at its peak. This is the guy that sees the possibility, even though he doesn't know how to do it. And he pushed those with the ability to do it to go out of their way to make it work. So being successful in the business world, entrepreneurship, it has so much to do with the vision, because when you have that vision, you will know who to bring into the movement with you, and you will know how to guide them. Leadership comes naturally for you because with the vision, you can be able to tell people, if we don't do this, we don't do that, this will not work. And to do this or to do that, this has to be done, or these people have to come on board. So that's one thing I always would want to talk about. I know there are so many things that great minds on this call would like to speak on, and for me, I would want to keep it simple, specifically on the issue of vision, because I've lived that too, and I know that if you have good relationship with your vision, a lot of personality trait will change. I have always been that guy that changed from one person to another, to another, to another, just to accommodate the vision I have. Because I said something, I can't lose, I can't fail, I must make this work. So even myself, even the business I'm operating, I told my guys, look, the day you realize that I am standing in a way of progress, I will have to step down. Why? Because this business is like my first baby. I can't kill it. I can't let it die. So if I am going to be the one standing in the way of progress, I'm stepping down. That's the leadership I built out here, and I'm continuing to build out here, because I don't want anyone to feel like, this is me. Anything I do, no, 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 no. Your decision has to stop one day because the vision has to survive. So for me, how strong that vision is, how good of a relationship you have with that vision is going to trigger a lot altogether. That's my take. Thank you.
No, it's very, very deep, my friend, very deep. Yes, I love Linda's points. Discipline, so the ability to do the right thing and carry on doing the right thing leads to motivation. No, which leads to consistency. Consistency is the ultimate key, right, Linda? You know, we have to be
Yeah.
willing to turn up every day, do what we have to do. You know, and every day we have to be honest with ourselves. Every day we have to be honest with, with our accountability partners, even to our customers, right?
Mhm.
And
Can,
so,
can I just quickly add something?
of course you can. Now go to
Yes, thanks for that, Festus. Thank you for that. Let me just add this. In the beginning, it's good for entrepreneurs to operate lean and or simply go look for capital. And the second thing is after you made the first monies, you want to at least you want to create budget to employ other people who have the 20 to 30% skill that will give you 80% results and who have value systems that are compatible with you. Are you the man? People who will not steal your ideas, steal what you're doing, you can trust them, knowing who to hire, and you can pay for them for a certain period. The first set of profit you made is not to go and buy a house or a car or a fanciful yacht on the ocean. No, it is to build the business up to a very, very solid level.
Yeah. Look, and I agree with you, Coach. I was going to say that I tried that. I must admit, I tried that. Right? But for 5 years, I probably didn't pay myself. I paid staff instead. Yeah. Why did I turn my back on that idea, Coach? I don't know. There's something I miss. I suppose I didn't have the staff who were entrepreneurial. I think
Yeah,
your team need to be on the same level as you almost, even though it's not their baby, right?
yeah,
And I
yeah,
find it very hard to find people who are that driven. You
yeah.
know, so
Remember,
go.
yeah. So remember, I said you must hiring people who are ready to walk the journey with you is 90% of your work. Hiring people who are going to walk the journey with you is 90% of your work. As a CEO, you got to find them. You got to find them. You got to find them. You have no choice than to look for them.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
I suppose there's different ways you can find them, Coach. There's different ways. And I think my solution, I say, I've done the employee staff in the UK, for example, because I wanted the people I could control, the people that I could sit down with in my office and say, right, here's how you do X, Y, Z, right? And we can do our biggest mistake as business owners, which is what I call management by apparent effort. I can see you working, so you must be working. It's not true, right? And then I've tried to employ freelancers in Africa, Nigeria, Uganda, Kenya. And so, but now I've come back to even Ghana, I think. Now I've come back to subcontractors because they have a different head. That now they have a need to deliver excellence. Otherwise, they don't get picked by me. Yeah, you with me? You know, there are different models to get the staffing you need. But I agree with you. You know, we have to create jobs. We have to create employment opportunities for people. That's what small businesses. That's what we're here. Small businesses for. Now, those who succeed transform their earnings and their impact. But I think you and I can agree, Coach, that employing people brings its own dangers because as soon as you employ people, your culture becomes not yours to control anymore. Because because it's not just you. Your culture is not diluted. What your customers experience is open to the vagaries of your staff. And yes, you can create a strong culture, which you said earlier, where there's a way we do things around here. Look, that's what I say on this before I say Alevine, is simply that I think we live in an age where our Gen Zs, the millennials, they're different to what we may think employees are, which is a whole different conversation. I might bring that back one day. Are millennials and Gen Zs wrong, or are the old generations wrong? I wonder. I wonder what your thoughts are on those. Right, we'll come to that in good time. Alavine, please, give us your, your key qualities that entrepreneurs must have, either in light of what was shared today or what you know already.
So, when I saw your topic, I thought an entrepreneur, if he wants to see his bold ideas becomes true, he needs to have a discrete personality, not that one with shyness, etc. Not that, but in that sense, to observe his environment, to observe who can help him to grow his idea, to help him to go toward his goal, to reach it, and to launch everything properly. So, and while listening to you, so another thing appeared, and it is about curiosity. We need to, I think we need to be curious, not just open-minded. I mean, curious, not as we want to know everything because we know, but curious in that sense, who already did that? uh, how did they do that? And my environment, do they need that? And how can I make that things work in my place? Because let's say I'm in Renan Island. Maybe my people around me, they will say, oh no, we don't want your idea, or we don't want to see you succeed. And maybe they will try to rob my idea, to steal my ideas. So I need to be discreet. So it is for that I think an entrepreneur at the beginning, at the very beginning, we need to be discreet, to be an observer, and to be very curious. That is very important because when we are curious, that means we are open-minded. That also means we are open to grow ourselves, to grow our skills, to grow our ideas, and to connect with people who can help us. That's my idea. And I want to thank everyone, yeah, on the panel and in the comment section, and also you, Annie, because it is a subject that is very, very interesting to me, and I love that. I love psychological things. I love understanding things like that, and I really love to understand how can we become an entrepreneur, and how can we make our bold ideas work. That is my take about that. So I deeply think we need to have a discreet personality and a very curious personality. That's my take. Thank you very much.
No, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for always sharing as well. Thank you for bringing your genius. I think the curiosity point can't be understated, right? It can't be overstated either. Literally, so, being open, being curious, having a deep keenness to discover creative ideas, to discover new knowledge, to discover, how we can connect ideas that seem separate. All of this can lead us to create innovation, our bold idea, right? So without that curiosity, I can see how it's nearly impossible to arrive at your bold idea. Your bold idea being something that is going to work for your customers and people you're here to serve, but others are not doing it. Where are the gaps? If you're not that person who is attentive, chances are you're going to miss the opportunities that your bold idea could give you. The life is full of people, the bold ideas that people have created that haven't met what they were meant to do, right? What can I think of? Post-it notes, for example. They weren't meant to be stuck on things with little notes. They were made for something else, just to stick things together, right? What's the other one? Bubble wrap? No, WD-40 was something that was made of something else completely. WD-40, the thing that freeze rusted joints of metal. It was made for something else completely, but now we use it for this, for unsticking and making metal things move. What's the other one I can think of? Earbuds. You hear them say very often, those earbuds that will clean our ears with, cotton buds, right? Those things. They'll say to us, don't put it in your ear, because it was never meant for our ears. But no, the original purpose is long evaporated, but we can find other ways of using them, right? So the curiosity to truly create what I call blue ocean solutions. That's your bold idea. So it's a good point to end on, Alvin. Thank you so much for taking us there. Well, am I going to talk more psychology as time goes on? I think so. I think we know just by the law of averages. I would say I've been doing these events for the best part of 3.5 years, maybe. So in the end, I expect to default to my wheelhouse, psychology in topics. But then I talk psychology, I talk mindset, I talk business growth. So I think in all of that, mindset comes into it, into psychology, into business growth for sure. So we're definitely talking more about how mindset works and how it can help us. But again, mindset is essentially psychology with honesty. That's my take, right? It's psychology with with an effort to be the person that we need to be, not just have the characteristics which are on a continuum. That's where we started the conversation today. Look, I thank you all for spending your time with me. Thank you so much. So we're talking tomorrow, Coach David, especially for you, about how do empaths protect themselves? Should they protect themselves? What is the safeguards to keep empaths safe from molesters, thieves, exploiters, narcissists? And I said we'll do this, Coach David. So tomorrow is the day. Hopefully you join us for that. Let's have the conversation, right?
I'm excited. Empaths need to protect themselves. It is well.
Yeah, no, look, thank you so much for everyone who spent your time with us. I can't thank you enough. So do join us again in 2 weeks' time. We'll be back with another topic. I think I've got a series in my mind for these topics. I think our next one is going to be business growth traits that we need, business growth characteristics to achieve your bold idea. To those personality, there's business growth. I don't know. I may go to the spiritual side or the alchemy side as the third part of the series. But I will thank you all for spending your time with us. I'm going to play one of my sponsors' message. This is Power Thinking. Maybe someone will tell me one day, my friends. How do you scan a QR code on screen on your phone? Does anyone know? Is it even possible? If you have a QR code that's on your mobile screen, are we kind of screwed? Do we need a link separately, or is there a way to scan what's on your screen? Alvin, feel free.
So about QR code, I can say I need to have another phone to scan it, but we don't need to have a link if we have the QR code. So, but I don't really know how it does work for the moment. I'm working on learning it to know. So maybe one day I will be able to answer your question, because I love to learn, and I learn fast when I find the right place to find this information. So now I'm learning how it works. So I don't have the answer.
Thank you. Thank you. I said this is our curiosity, Alvin, right? It's our deep curiosity for learning new things. Festus,
exactly.
I say the twin phone thing. I get that, so that would work. Let's see what Festus has to say. Festus, what do you know that we don't know, my friend?
All right, for QR code, you can't scan it while on the same phone But you can, however, screenshot it, then upload it using a QR code reader on your phone to be able to read them.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like that. So it's now basically take a screenshot, and then either you're going to scan it with your phone afterwards, or you can upload it into a QR code reader. I like that. That's practical enough, right? Thank you so much, my friend. You don't ask the questions, you never know, right? And if you're not curious to learn something new, I've learned something new today, so I'll take it, my friends. I'll take it. Look, thank you so much. I don't want to keep you any longer. So we've been here quite a while. But let me play my Power Thinking sponsors video. Now, do check out the app and check out Power Thinking. It's mindsets in a bite size. So I'm going to say bye to everyone. So we know by the time the video finishes in 33 seconds, we'll be gone, right? Bye, everyone. Linda, thank you so much. So everyone that's been here today. So Stanley, thank you so much for joining us, all of you. Mike, all our speakers, Cyrus, Calm. I'm grateful to all of you. Thank you so much. Coach David, of course, Festus, Alavine, you're superstars. Go on. Take care, everyone. Take care, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you very much.